You're listening to the Spirit Podcast.
Welcome, travelers. This is Beck, and once again, you've arrived at the edge. Not just of town, not just of night, but of something deeper. This is Halloween. I want to tell you a story. Not a ghost story, not really. It's a parable. A warning, wrapped in wind and rustling leaves. Reflection for the wanderers. For the ones who've been feeling out of place, out of step, or out of time. If your life has felt strange lately, like the road you're walking doesn't quite fit anymore, if you've been haunted by old memories, or whispered to by something you can't explain, well, this story's for you. Because some roads aren't meant to be on any map, and some turns you don't come back from. So, lock the door, dim the lights, and light the lantern, just one. We are going to walk the abandoned road. They say the road never used to be there. Not on paper, not in GPS, no records, no property lines. Just appeared. One October, right around dusk. It wasn't paved, but it wasn't dirt either. A gray-black ribbon, narrow, winding, cutting between trees and vanishing into horizon, as if the land itself had blinked, and something older opened its eyes. Most folks never saw it. Most folks weren't meant to. But there was always one, just one, a soul out walking or driving or hurting, usually near the end of something, a job, a relationship, a version of themselves that no longer fit. And that's when it would appear, just past the bend they thought they knew by heart. A crooked little sign, half buried in leaves, no words, painted black, tilting ever so slightly. It didn't say, "Turn here," but it didn't have to. They always did. This time, it was a man, mid-30s, maybe older, maybe younger. Hard to tell when someone's been hollowing. He was trying to take the long way home. That's what he'd say later. Said the sun was low. The trees were gold, and his thoughts were too loud for the highway. So when the narrow road appeared, he turned. Didn't think, just turned. The first thing he noticed was the quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Charged quiet, like the sound had been sucked out of the air, replaced by something denser. Pressure. Then came the crows. Not above him, beside him, sitting low on fence posts, one after another, silent, unblinking, like sentries, like witnesses. And then the mile marker. It didn't have a number, no distance, no direction, just 2 words. You left. That was the first time he should have turned back, but he didn't. Because once the road has you, it doesn't let go so easily. The road narrowed, wider than a footpath, thinner than a lane. The trees leaned in like eavesdroppers. Their branches began to knit above him, stitching a ceiling from the dead limbs of forgotten seasons. And that's when he saw it. A booth. Not modern, not rustic, just wrong. Out of place in a way that made the back of his neck tighten. It sat crooked at the edge of the woods, a wooden structure barely the size of a closet, with windows too small and a door too narrow, as if it had been built for someone who never stood upright. No lights, no signs, no arm to raise. But it was unmistakably a toll booth. And inside, something sat, or someone. He slowed, pulled the car beside it. The engine idled. The figure inside didn't move, didn't look up. Just raised one pale hand slowly, like smoke rising. He rolled the window down. The air that came in was colder than it should have been. He forced a chuckle. "What's the fee?" The figure tilted its head. Its face was hard to see, but the skin had the wrong texture. Not flesh, not even wax. Something in between, like memory trying to wear a mask. And then it spoke, but not with sound. The words arrived, not in his ears, in his skull, centered, still, like a thought not his own.
"You brought something with you,"
it said.
"Something borrowed, something broken. You may not carry both."
The man blinked. "What do you mean?" But the booth was empty. Gone. So was the figure. So was the sound of his car. Only the trees remained. And he was moving again. Already driving. Already further down the road. He looked to the passenger seat. Empty. Except for a box. Old, wooden, carved with twisting vines. A slit in the top, like it had once held something sacred, or dangerous, or both. It was slightly open, and from inside, a scent escaped. Faint, familiar, like the smell of rain on childhood bed sheets, like the breath of a ghost you used to love. Something in him knew. That box held everything he thought he needed to keep, but should have left behind. Memories, regrets, faces, old wounds he still wore like medals. He reached for it, but the box pulsed just once, and his hand froze. That was the second time he should have turned back. But the road whispered,
"Just a little further."
He didn't remember the drive, only the arrival. The forest had thickened into something ancient, not just trees, but presence. Like the bones of the earth were pressing in. The road curved sharply, then stopped, or dissolved. It was hard to tell. Ahead, the mist had teeth. He turned off the ignition, but the key made no sound, no click, no hum, no resistance. He stepped out. Crunch of gravel underfoot. Cold air sharper than it should be. And then, the realization he wasn't alone. They stood just beyond the tree line, still as statues, tall, thin, wrapped in garments that shimmered wrong. Too formal, too old, too new. Like they belonged to a future that had already failed. Eyes, dozens. Some glowing faintly like dying stars, others just voids. Not hostile, not welcoming, just witnessing. He moved one step forward. Their heads turned with him, not slowly, not fast, just precisely, like owls, like cameras. No breathing, no blinking, no sound, only attention. The kind that weighs more than it should, the kind that remembers. Then, one of them raised a hand and pointed, not at him, at the car. He turned and froze. The box was gone. Passenger seat empty. But so was his reflection in the window. Someone else sat behind the wheel. Not someone else exactly. Him. Only not? Older? Emptier? Eyes dull? Skin thinner? A version of him stripped of something essential. It didn't move. Didn't speak. Just sat there, behind the glass that no longer held a reflection. Then, it smiled. And in that smile, he understood. The road had never asked for a destination, only a cost. He staggered back, breath caught in his throat.
You may not carry both,
The tollkeeper had said.
Something borrowed, something broken.
He reached into his coat pocket. A key. Not to his car, to something else. Something further. Something ahead. He looked to the watchers. They didn't stop him. They didn't move. They simply saw. As he stepped past the car, past the copy of himself, past the point where any return was real, and into the mist, which now curled with purpose, like a door remembering how to open. The mist parted, not as fog does, but like a curtain pulled from within. And the path ahead was no longer a road. It was a forest, but not wilderness. It was familiar. He knew that tree, that bend, that stone with the crack like a lightning bolt, only he didn't. Not quite. Because this wasn't his memory. It was memory adjacent, close enough to ache, but just far enough to feel wrong. He walked anyway. The path was narrower here, as if resisting him. His coat snagged on brambles that hadn't been there. Voices flickered between branches. Laughs, cries, whispers he once knew, but couldn't place. A child's giggle, a mother's sigh. His own name, said by someone long dead. Then, a clearing. At its center, a house. Modest, faded, old enough to matter. It looked like the one his grandfather built, but different. The porch sagged in a way it hadn't. A bicycle lay tipped in the grass, rusted, forgotten. The curtains were drawn, except for one. And in that window, a girl. No older than 10. Red sweater, bare feet. Eyes wide with knowing. She looked at him the way mirrors look, when you're not ready to see. He stepped closer. The front door creaked open. Inside, the house breathed. It wasn't haunted. It was haunted with him. Pictures lined the walls, except the faces were blank. Outlines, blurs. A life lived without him. Or perhaps because he never showed up. In the kitchen, the box sat on the table. Closed now, tightly, wrapped in a red ribbon. He reached for it, but before his hand could touch it, she spoke from the doorway behind him.
You never said goodbye.
He turned. It wasn't the girl. It was the woman she became. Same eyes, same voice, decades older. A life weathered, and somehow still waiting. He opened his mouth, no sound came. Only a feeling. The cold weight of all the words he had never spoken. The chances not taken. The love not given. The self not forgiven. She stepped back, and behind her, the doorway filled with light. Not warm light, not cruel, revealing. It showed him everything, not as it was, as it could have been. 1,000 tiny choices, the road not taken, the kindness withheld, the truth avoided, the man behind the wheel, the box on the seat, the watchers in the woods. They were all him. The toll keeper's words echoed now with weight.
You may not carry both.
He'd carried his wounds like inheritance, his regrets like proof, his borrowed identities like armor. But the broken was his, and he had to choose. He stood in the doorway, one foot in the past, one in the present, the future, a hallway without doors. Behind him the box, ahead the light. But something had changed, not around him, within. He reached into his coat one last time. The key was gone. Only ash remained, cool, soft, like the kind left after burning old letters. He looked back at the table. The ribbon on the box had unraveled. The lid, now open. Inside, nothing. Not emptiness, but release. Everything he thought he needed to carry had let go of him. The watchers hadn't lied. The toll had already been paid, in grief, in silence, in time. He turned toward the light and stepped through. Some say he never returned. Others say he did. But wasn't quite the same. He laughed more, but he didn't smile as often. He spoke less, but meant more. He drove different roads, but never forgot that turn. And when others came to their own crooked signs, when their paths split, or their lives broke, or truth burned, he listened. He never told them where the road was, only that it finds you when it's time. And if you ever see a black painted sign with no words leaning slightly at dusk, know this. You won't find the road by searching, but it might find you when you're ready to leave something behind. Just be sure you know which part of yourself you're willing to give up, because once you turn, you don't return the same. Thank you for walking this road with me tonight. I don't know what you brought with you, but I hope, somewhere between the trees and the toll, you left a little of it behind. Not every haunting is a ghost. Not every path is meant to be permanent. Sometimes the most powerful journeys begin with getting lost. So, happy Halloween, and until next time, keep the lantern lit.